on the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield. This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Rarely is there a day off for Iowa football coaches and staff. If they're not teaching and scheduling, planning and strategizing, they're on the road recruiting, the very lifeblood of the program. Coaches, including recruiting director Tyler Barnes, began the new year visiting high school juniors and sophomores and seeing those that have signed tenders but won't arrive until June. That said, the Hawkeyes will have their largest enrollee class ever on campus when the new semester starts later this month. Barnes, in his 9th year as head of recruiting, is in his 2nd season as general manager and chief of staff. He's the point man for all things NIL, transfer portal, and serves as the Hawkeyes NFL liaison. That's a lot for one plate. Now add in recruiting rule changes and roster downsizing for next year, and Barnes and his staff have to be more analytical and selective.
This is actually the first year with the NCAA. They changed the rules where you just have to designate 11 people that can go out. So the head coach plus 10 other people on your staff. So I've been on the road, a number of years now in different situations. But this year I'm taking Tim Lester's spot. So Tim's going to stay back, and we've got a few new quarterbacks, obviously, that are getting here and starting in January. So he thought it'd be better use of his time to be with those guys and kind of get them rolling and into football 101 and just getting into the offense. So I'll be out all of January and then all of the spring as well. So it's, we had coaches a little bit of everywhere this first week. And then it's actually a dead period for 3 days next week. The annual football coaches convention takes place in Charlotte. So we'll have a number of guys down there, and I'm not going to go. I'm going to enjoy 3 days of solace for a little bit, try and get our house back in order before we get back out and hit the road late next week.
I certainly understand that. With roster sizes shortened, coach, from 115 to 105 next year, how much more selective do you have to be? I mean, I know you could use starters and depth at every position annually, but what direction has Coach Ferentz given the staff, and how do you decide which position gains priority?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's obviously we were not in favor of that number going as low as 105. We were hoping to be in the 115 to 120 range. So what we did is, we have a budget based on spots per position that I look at daily and kind of keep track of. And as soon as that number came to be, I essentially just had to look at each position and pare it down from, we had 126 on the roster to 105 and what made most sense. There's some spots, DBs, tight ends, linebackers, that there's a lot of special teams value. But when you cut, it doesn't seem like much to cut 21 guys, but when you cut 21 spots for your budget, it gets really tight. It's extremely tight. And in terms of how we're recruiting and navigating that, in normal years, we'll take 10 walk-ons every class. This year, in the signing class we took 3. You have to be extremely selective now. And those were some hard conversations that the Coach Ferentz and the staff had to have in early December. A lot of kids that, it was their dream to wear the black and gold and play at Iowa. Some of them were older. Most of them were younger guys that they got to do it for 1 year, but having to tell them that, this wasn't a rule that we made. It wasn't a rule that we were happy about or agreed upon, but it is a rule. And unfortunately, we kind of had to let them know of that news. But I think 17 or 18 of our guys have already found spots, scholarship spots at lower level schools, which is good. And we told all those guys, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but we'll also help get you to a new school as well. So it's good. I think there's just a handful of guys left that are still looking for homes that'll probably be with us in the spring. But not the rule change we were real thrilled about, but everybody's got to abide by it. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
For sure. With the transfer portal, let's work in reverse order if we can. Tyler, with the latest commitment, Tennessee, Chattanooga wide receiver Sam Phillips, his strengths and his playmaking ability. Tell us.
Yeah, Sam's played a lot of football there. Actually, an interesting story. He walked on at UC Chat and earned a scholarship and kind of proved himself. Has had over, let's say, 130 career catches in the last 3 years, over 2,000 yards receiving. He's a guy that can play inside or outside. He's really good after the catch. He's a sure-handed guy, but really good after the catch, really good in terms of yak, and a really mature and awesome kid. We brought Sam up early. When he hit the portal, we brought him up kind of the next week, and it was good just to be around him and his parents, and he brings a sense of maturity to that room. Obviously, our biggest thing is trying to find production. When we bring transfers, there's got to be production there. You can't just base everything on potential. That'll get you in trouble and maybe get you fired. So 2,000 career receiving yards is a pretty good place to start, and I know he'll fit in that room really well.
Quarterback Mark Gronowski, he's won FCS titles at South Dakota State. He's really got Hawkeye Nation fired up. Give us a skinny on Mark. He's passed for over 10,000 yards and scored 130 career touchdowns. He sure knows where the end zone is.
That's a lot of production. There's no doubt about that. Mark, like a couple other guys that we took as transfers in this class, Mark is a guy we overlooked in high school. We had on campus a couple times. Ultimately, we didn't pull the trigger. Got to see him firsthand in Kinnick a few years ago. But, he's an impressive kid. He's already finished his engineering degree at SDSU. He's a couple classes away from finishing his master's degree. So numbers guy, Tim always talks about he's a math major. He likes quarterbacks that are smart and numbers guys. I think Mark certainly fits that bill. But just when you're around the kid, he's really impressive. He's all football. We're excited to get Mark in the room and just to continue to elevate that room and just keep creating competition. That's the whole goal. Iron sharpens iron, and I think he'll fit in that room well. And it'll be fun to see how the spring shakes out with everybody.
Well, that room's pretty full, but that's a good thing too. About Gronowski, the thing that really impresses me is his consistency, his stability. He's thrown it, what I read, 20 touchdown passes in each of the last 3 years. I mean, he moves the football.
He does, and he lost a lot of talent around him this past season. I think there were 6 or 7 guys from SDSU on the offense that at least made it to an NFL camp, and still to have a level of production like he had this past year. When you lose that big of a supporting cast, it's certainly impressive. And again, he's a winner. He's proven that he's a winner, and it's adding that type of production and just the type of kid he is to that room. It's going to be a net positive for sure.
Hello, Iowa. Here's a promise. Wherever you are in this great state, University of Iowa Healthcare is here for you, even if you never walk through our doors. Educating, caring, leading research, sharing our expertise with all. Because we believe that UI Healthcare is here to make all of Iowa better. UI Healthcare, changing medicine, changing lives. Visit uihealthcare.org.
You might think Iowa grows corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa. Corn can even fuel your drive to watch the Hawkeyes play when you choose Unleaded 88. It's a fuel that's cheaper, cleaner, and greener. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So as you head to cheer on the Hawkeyes this season, don't just fuel up. Pump it up with Unleaded 88. Find Unleaded 88 at a station near you. Go to iowacorn.org/88.
The silly moments, the proud moments, even the hard moments. They're what make life remarkable. And they're why Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield is here for every moment. Committed to making healthcare better, more affordable, with more choices for care. And service and coverage that give you peace of mind no matter what comes your way. So you can show up for every tender moment, every brave moment, and every wouldn't miss it for the world moment, knowing that Blue is here for you. Go to wellmark.com/every moment to find a plan right for you.
Something big is happening at Hy-Vee. We just lowered thousands and thousands of prices on thousands and thousands of items in every aisle and in every department. Online, too. And on many of your favorite products. We've even matched prices with some of the biggest discount stores in the country. Because we get it, times are still tough. So we'll continue to work hard to bring you new lower prices on thousands of items. Things are looking different at Hy-Vee. Come see for yourself.
The coach, the Hawks needed to fill a need along the defensive line with a player or two. Talk about redshirt freshman Bryce Hawthorne, likewise coming over from South Dakota State.
Yeah, he's again another kid we knew about in high school. We didn't pull the trigger out of high school, and once he hit the portal, we took Jonah Pace already from Central Michigan, and Jonah, another guy that we recruited out of high school but didn't take. Jonah's an older guy. Bryce has got 3 years left. We didn't want to take just another one and done guy. We're trying to kind of spread out the room a little bit, and it worked out well. His dad played at Minnesota, played in the NFL for a little bit. He's got good bloodlines. Another really, really impressive kid, easy kid to be around. And for us, again, it's about just finding the right guys. The production's got to be there, but you got to be able to fit in our room too and add to our culture. And Bryce certainly does that. And we're excited to get him here. And again, he's got 3 years left, so we'll see where it goes once he gets here in January.
Sum up the rest of the incoming group of recruits. Coach, that quarterback room, as I mentioned, is pretty full right now for offensive coordinator Lester, but 17 guys, 15 scholarship, couple walk-ons. How does the class break down?
Yeah, it wasn't a big class. It's actually one of the smaller classes we've signed high school wise in quite some time, and that's due a little bit in part to we had a smaller senior class last year with the football program, and then we knew we had some holes that we wanted to fill in the transfer portal too. But a lot of guys we identified early. We had most of the class committed in June/July when we brought those guys out officially. A lot of guys they finish out their senior year. I mean, they signed in December, but they've been committed forever, and we watch these guys weekly, and it's been fun to see. A lot of guys finished strong. A lot of guys played in state playoffs. A few guys in the state title games. Still got one, Jose Epinesa, rolling down at the All-American game right now. And I'm not sure if you're on Twitter and follow those clips, but he looks pretty dang good. So we're excited we got him coming. But and we'll have about 10 of these guys. We'll get here in January. So it'll be our biggest early enrollee class we've ever had here. And I think you're probably going to see a lot more guys enroll early with the 105 and just the way the rosters are shaping up. So it'll be good. There's going to be 15 to 16 new faces here in January, some new toys, if you will, for the coaches to play with. So it'll be good to get all these guys here and get them rolling and kind of just see where it all goes.
Roughly a dozen of the 15 or 16, 17 are from Iowa. It's primarily a Midwestern class, which I know you like. High school football in Iowa this year, graded out for us pretty good, sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always Iowa's always it's home base number one for us, right? We've got to dominate the state. We got to find the guys that we want them to stay home and be Hawkeyes. They know what we're about. They have an understanding of the program, and I would say Illinois is the same way. We treat Illinois almost like it's in state. We had a pretty good haul over there. You got Epinesa, you got Brad Fitzgibbon, big D tackle from the Chicago area. You got both of our linebackers are North Central Illinois, suburb of Chicago's, if you will. So Terrence Smith, a big receiver. So Seth Wallace, he does a great job in Chicago, always has. Having Coach Budmeyer with some Chicago ties, Coach Lester with some Chicago ties, certainly helps. But we're always going to take care of the state first and foremost, and then Illinois is an extension of Iowa, if you will.
That's Iowa football for sure. Coach, great job as always. Thanks for your time here on our Fight for Iowa podcast. We'll do it again, and maybe after spring ball we can regroup and find out where the landscape goes, okay?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Dolph.
Spring practice will start Wednesday, March 26th without newly signed quarterback Mark Gronowski. Gronowski will undergo a planned corrective surgery for an injury that he's played through and will be recovered in time for summer drills. He will participate in non-contact spring drills. The Hawkeyes Pro Day is set for Monday, March 24th. Speaking of pros, a few former Iowa recruits graded in the top 15 among National Football League offensive linemen this season for fewest sacks and quarterback pressures allowed. They are Tampa Bay tackle Tristan Wirfs of Mount Vernon and Baltimore center Tyler Linderbaum from down the road in Solon. Both were voted All-Pro again. And then there's veteran guard Brandon Sheriff of Denison, a fixture with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sheriff just completed his 10th year in the league. Iowa's not just known as tight end U. Present kick and punt returner Caden Weegan added college football's most outstanding return specialist award to his honors this week. Weegan from Williamsburg won the Jet Commendation, returning punts and kickoffs a total of 1,055 yards, including a pair of touchdowns. One of those a 100-yard return against Missouri in the Music City Bowl. Weegan also returned a punt 85 yards to the end zone against Northwestern. That's it for this week's show. Thanks for listening. With thoughts and prayers to our friends and relatives in California suffering through the devastating fires in the hills surrounding Los Angeles, we'll return next week with another edition of the Fight for Iowa podcast. I'm Gary Dolphin. Go Hawks.
You've been listening to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the Hawkeyes Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. Until next time, on Iowa and go Hawks! The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.